Okay, does anybody not have one of these handouts? You? So, how you doing, guys? My name is Mr. Rodriguez. I didn't. So, my name is Mr. Rodriguez. I was born and raised in Bridgeport. I went to Central High School. Anybody here went to Central High? All right, good. So, what we're going to talk about today is genius and identifying really what genius is, because I think a lot of people have a really limiting poor definition of what genius is and what genius can be. So, if you look at the sheet that I passed out to you guys, I got some quotes there about genius from various people. Honestly, who said them doesn't really matter because they're relevant. So, looking at the sheet, does anybody have a particular favorite on this quote, on any of these quotes, on any of these 6 quotes? Good.
Number 6.
Yeah, okay. So, a man of genius makes no mistakes. His errors are portals to discover. That's a really good one. Good job, by the way. Because while none of these are wrong, this is my favorite because it reflects me mostly. Errors are part of success. I feel like people build up this idea of what a successful life is, and the successful life is just this kind of straight path. You know what I'm saying? You go to high school, you go to college, you get a career, get a house, get married, or whatever it is you want to do. But that's not necessarily so. We're going to watch a couple videos, and we're going to talk about them. And a lot of them have to do with failure.
Excuse me, to grab the kids for you. So it's Madeline, Renaya, Jennifer, Jaden, Victor.
So, when we talk about genius, a lot of people have this idea that to be a genius is kind of one of these things that's like up here, right? And most people are here, and that maybe 1 out of every 1,000 people gets up to the genius level. But that's not actually true. And as a matter of fact, that's not even what the word means. The word genius is actually from Latin, and it means, the Latin root word is genuiti, which just means to create. So a genius is just somebody that creates. An artist, a musician, a builder, businessman. All you have to do to be a genius is to create something that doesn't exist, to bring something into existence. So I think once we kind of build a more common relationship with what it is to be a genius, I think that opens up a lot of possibilities to us, because right now the classic definition of what a genius is very restricted, and it's very something that's for everybody else, and then maybe if you're lucky and you were born super smart, you might become a genius later in life. That really has nothing to do with it. It has to do with tenacity, it has to do with not giving up, it has to do with having passion for what you're studying. I have a slide here, I have a couple of slides here, and we're going to jump around from place to place because there's some interesting videos that I want to show you guys. So we're going to go from there. First one, so what does genius mean to you guys? Does anybody have any opinions on it? Is there a genius that you guys like particularly? Is there somebody that you look at, music, culture, business? Who's that? Michael Jackson? Go genius? Okay, that's cool. Anybody else? Fashion, music, sports? What was that? Alright, well, it could really be anybody. She said Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson changed the world with his music. Still, if you go outside the United States, Michael Jackson is one of the few people that you can say his name basically in any country and they'll know exactly who he is and who you're talking about. So that's what we're talking about with genius. He doesn't have, he didn't have a PhD or have, a long list of accomplishments and certifications. He created. He created something and put it out into the world that people enjoy. And that's what a genius is. That's what Gen We is, to create. So I think once we build a little bit more of a common relationship with what genius is. Number 4, to see things in the seed, that is genius. Now what do you think he means to see things in the seed? Does anybody have any idea? What?
It's like when something doesn't really have a form or like a clear like position of what it's already going to, like what it's going to be, and you can already tell what it's going to be. You can tell what you want it to be.
Perfect, good job. Now, when you see things in the seed, that's seeing the potential. That's seeing where you can go with something. Steve Jobs, who we're going to see later, he started Apple Computers. He also started Pixar. But when he started, he was in a garage with a friend of his, just putting things together, right? And he saw the bigger picture. He saw that computers can be used as a tool to educate people. And the first thing they did when they built their first apples was starting to put them in schools, and saw that they could be used as a tool for education. So he saw things in the seed. And that's really important, because not everything is always going to be laid out to you, and importance and relevance isn't always apparent in your face. So, let's see, we'll do one more. Oh, number 5. Genius does what it must when talent only does what it can. So, it's really important that you guys realize that when somebody is considered genius, talent only got them so far. The music industry, sports, are riddled with people that had tons and tons of talent, amazing talent. But when it came down to it, they didn't have the tenacity, or the will, the drive, the desire to actually be successful. And that's really what separates people that want to do things from people that actually do things. So, let's see, we're going to go on. This is the quotes we went over. So, Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist. The guy studies stars, science, engineering. And in this video, he talks about being yourself. And I think it's really important to be yourself, to be a genius, because you have to tap into the things that make you happy. And if it doesn't make you happy, you're not going to be good enough at it for you to be really, 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 really good, really successful. So we're going to see what he has to say, and then we'll move on from there.
And the only aspect of me, I've had several people come up to me and said, what can I do to be you? And the only aspect of me that's really doable is I can tell you what my academic pedigree is and what I did as a kid and what things interested me. But what I do day to day is not the fulfillment of some pre-existing job description. It's just things that I took interest in on my own that the general public happen to also appreciate or like or want access to. And so within my job description as director of the Hayden Planetarium and as an educator, as an astrophysicist, I kept accreting other things that I did that people responded to, positively responded to. So I can tell you about the academic pedigree. The rest, you have to create what it is that you do best, that layers onto the formal training that may be behind it. I think the greatest of people that have ever been in society, they were never versions of someone else. They were themselves. You don't think about Michael Jordan, the basketball player, and say, oh, he was just like this other player. No. You don't even say he was like this player plus that player divided by 2 plus this. No. He's Michael Jordan. I think the greatest of people in society carved niches that represented the unique expression of their combinations of talents. And if everyone had the luxury of expressing the unique combinations of talents in this world, our society would be transformed overnight. It's the great tragedy. People employed in ways that don't fully tap everything they do best in life. I'm privileged and I don't take a day for granted on the job about the fact that what I do, what people most warmly receive about what I do, are some of the things that I do best in life. I'm honored and flattered by that combination of facts as they apply to me. So your task is to find a combination of facts that apply to you. Then people will lead a path to your door.
Alright, so now what do you guys think of that? I mean, what is it, does anybody here have an idea like what you want to do as a career in your life? Anyway. You? Alright. So, regardless of what you want to do, if you don't want to talk about it, or if you don't know yet, that's okay. The important thing is that inside, you decide what it is that's going to make you happy, and then you try to find a way that puts a roof over your head. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that money doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you make a lot. It doesn't matter if you make a lot of money. We still all have our basic survival. That we need a roof overhead. We need, certain things to live. And by doing that, and what Neil was talking about was that when you find yourself, and when you find your specific mix of talent and passion, that's when you can be really good at something, and that's when you can be a genius, because that's when you start to create something that nobody's ever created before. Is when every single one of you has inside this unique mix of life experience, and passion, and attention, and history, and family. And that makes, obviously, every individual unique. But that also makes your potential to create unique as well. So I think it's really, really important to get to know yourself and to be honest with yourself about what you really want. So now we're going to watch another one. He's in this video, but he narrates it. You don't really see him. But it's what happens, he talks about what happens when you stop dreaming, when you stop looking forward to the future and stop thinking, what am I going to do? Why am I here? What's the purpose? Am I just going through every day, or do I have an ultimate goal? And as you get older, that starts to become more and more important. And he said, he puts it very well, so why don't we just watch this and we'll talk about it.
Space, it's a $300 billion industry worldwide. NASA is actually a tiny percent of that. Interesting how small a percent NASA is to the total world spending of space. That little bit, however, is what inspires dreams. Every corporation in here with representatives to this conference, if you ever even touched a science mission, you lead off with that in your quarterly reports, in your annual reports. Because it inspires, it is the act of discovery that empowers nations and the world to undertake these activities. We know this. Apollo 8, that was the first time anybody ever left Earth with a destination in mind. Yeah, figurated around the moon. Photo of Earth rising over the lunar landscape. We all know it. Earthrise over the moon. There was Earth. Seen not as the map maker would have you identify it. No, the countries were not color-coded with boundaries. It was seen as nature intended it to be viewed. Oceans, land, clouds. We went to the moon and we discovered Earth. I claim we discovered Earth for the first time. How does that affect culture? I got a list. The instant that photo comes out, that is the identifying cover picture of the whole Earth catalog. Thinking about Earth as a whole, not as a place where nations war, as a whole. 1970, the Comprehensive Clean Air Act is passed. Earth Day was birthed March 1970. The Environmental Protection Agency was founded in 1970. The organization Doctors Without Borders was founded in 1971. Where do you even get that phrase from? No one thought of that phrase before that photo was published. Because every globe in your classroom has countries painted on it. DDT got banned in 1972. We're still going to the moon. We're still looking back to Earth. Clean Water Act, 1971. 1972, Endangered Species Act. The catalytic converter gets put in 1973. Unleaded gas, 1973. We're still at war in Vietnam. There's still campus unrest. Yet we found the time to start thinking about Earth. That is space operating on our culture, and you cannot even put a price on that. That is a nation, that is a world reacting to a new perspective on what it is to be alive on this planet that we all share. We need to look at NASA not as a handout, but as an investment. Because as goes the health of spacefaring ambitions, so too goes the spiritual, the emotional, the intellectual, the creative, and the economic ambitions of a nation. So goes the future of America.
So, while he's speaking to NASA and to science explorations in general, there's a wider implication to what he's saying. And what he's saying is that perspective is important. And I think that's the most important part of college. Now, only about 20 to 30% of what you learn in college is going to be in here. The rest is the paperwork. Learning how to deal with professors that seem impossible. Meeting people from other countries and other cultures and other cities, other parts of this country that have different perspectives than you do. And you get more intelligent from that than you do from anything you learn in the classroom, because it does this right here. It gives you a new perspective. And the new perspective is important because once you're able to see outside your own front window, that's when you're really able to create, when you're able to tap into that genie, that genius, because you can't do it until you've been exposed to everything that life has to offer. And that's the beauty of college. College isn't necessarily a system of education. It isn't necessarily a system of culture. It's a system of experiences. Through my college education, I had the wonderful opportunity to go to Japan. And I was talking to Japanese student teachers that were of my age. And they were asking me questions about the United States. And, why does the United States do this? And why do you guys do that? And I was talking to him, his name was Hiroshi, and I was asking him about Japan. And we started exchanging this dialogue where we both realized that so easily we assign a country's policy to every person that lives in that country. So he was saying, why do you guys in America, why do you hate Arab people so much? Why are you racist? Why do you start so many wars? And then once I started telling him my opinion on war and foreign policy and Muslim extremism and stuff like that, he realized that not all Americans are that. Not all Americans are this type of person that is portrayed in the media that wants to dominate every country and go to war and wave the American flag on every piece of land on this planet. And then when I was talking to him, similarly, I learned as much from him about Japanese culture, specifically the freedom of Japanese culture with women. which I originally was under the impression that women didn't have many rights in Japan, and I couldn't have been more wrong. I had no idea. Living in that society, I was there for a month. It changed my perspective on things. And not only that, it changed my perspective that, like, of course, everybody knows that you don't know everything. I mean, nobody knows everything. But to be able to recognize when you're in a thinking process that, wait a minute, I may not be seeing the answer here, that's really crucial. And that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson is talking about with a new perspective. When they first published that first photo of Earth from the moon, and then he named all those landmark bills that happened right after that photo was published, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Clean Air Act, the Environmental Species Protection Act, the Clean Water Act, Earth Day. Things like that happen from that new perspective. And things like that can happen inside you too. And that's why college is important. Not because of classes or money or anything like that. It's because it gives you a new perspective. And that's really the crucial part of taking college. So talk about that. And we're going to get one more video from him, and then we're going to move on. But this is really, really important, so I want you guys to listen to it. Because it has to do with how you're tied biologically to the universe. And sometimes, especially when you're a teenager, you feel small, and you feel like you don't have a lot of power. You're one amongst many in your school, in your city, in your country. But he states quite eloquently why that's not true.
What is the most astounding fact you can share with us about the universe?
The most astounding fact
The most astounding fact.
is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars, the high-mass ones among them, went unstable in their later years. They collapsed and then exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and all the fundamental ingredients of life itself. These ingredients become part of gas clouds that condense, collapse, form the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets. And those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So that when I look up at the night sky, and I know that, yes, we are part of this universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big, but I feel big because my atoms came from those stars. There's a level of connectivity. That's really what you want in life. You want to feel connected. You want to feel relevant. You want to feel like you're a participant in the goings-on of activities and events around you. That's precisely what we are, just by being alive.
Now, see, that's important to me because I think you need to know, regardless of what your religion is, because this isn't really about religion. It's about the fact that every single cell in your body came from the stars you see in the sky, right? And that makes us all really, really, really important because the elements that make up your body have been floating around for like 5 billion years and just now ended up where you are at this time, making the person that you are. So never sell yourself short. Everybody's a genius. You just got to find your unique skill, passion, and talent. Who knows who Henry Rollins is? Have we heard of him? He's from like the 80s and 90s, but he's a musician and an actor, and he's kind of like he's somebody who you wouldn't think is as intelligent as he appears to be, because he's rock musician. He was in a bunch of movies, but he's also written like 6 books. Really, really good books. I know people with PhDs that haven't written 6 books. And he talks about tenacity and what it is to really need something. And I think what he has to say is important. I got a couple of videos here of him. And I think we're going to do these 2. They're short and succinct. But basically what he did is he wrote a letter. This was a few years back when the economy was a little worse off. But it's called Letter to a Young American. And it's really inspiring. It inspired me to get through college. And I think it'll inspire you guys too, because this guy knows, he grew up with nothing. He worked every menial job there is. Toured with bands, sleeping in the back of cars, and so this guy knows a little thing or 2 about it, and I found it really inspiring. They're split into 2 pieces, but they're only like 5 minutes each.
Do you believe in the cross of Christ?
What does it mean to believe? It is forgiveness. It is.
Young person, you will find in your life that sometimes your great ambitions will be momentarily stymied, thwarted, marginalized by those who were perhaps luckier, come from money, where more doors opened, where college was a given. It was not a student loan. It was something that Dad paid for. To where an ease and confidence in life was almost a birthright, where for you, it was a very hard climb. Okay, that happens all the time. Some of the greatest Americans, some of the greatest thinkers, artists, architects, politicians, and other movers, shakers, and creators all over the world have come from very meager beginnings, like my favorite American, Abraham Lincoln. And so, just because you come from nothing, you must not let that be something that holds you back. And you will encounter people who never have to pay in full. They get to wreck the room and never have to clean it. They can get all the way through high school and never understand where a dollar comes from, because they just get it given to them. I went to school with guys like that. You've had presidents like that. You've had friends like that. And you've suffered. Your humility has been tried. Your patience has been tried. Your resolve and your ambition has been tried. You cannot let these people make you feel that you have in any way been dwarfed or outclassed. You must really go for your own and realize how short life is. You got what you got, so you got to make the most of it. You really can't spend a whole lot of time worrying about his. You really have to go for your own. If you have an idea of what you want to do in your future, you must go at it with almost monastic obsession, be it music, the ballet, or just a basic degree. You have to go at it single-mindedly and let nothing get in your way. And that's why you're young. That's why you can survive on no sleep, top ramen noodles, and dental floss, and still look good. And take advantage of that great energy you have, the fact that you can do an all-nighter. All the people you admire, from Muhammad Ali to any politician, they work and work and work. A guy like Bill Clinton, not everyone's favorite, Rhodes Scholar. He's smart for a reason. Hey, got a great mind, but he sat and he shoved a whole bunch of information in there, and he learned how to connect the dots, and so can you. Your president right now is a man who got where he is through very hard work and scholarships, mainly hard work and application and discipline. If these people can do it, why not you? It is very, very easy, though, to feel smaller, to feel less than, when you see people with an advantage. Walk where you struggle, who have ease of motion where you are constricted. It can be a real shot to your morale, like it can be flummoxing to a degree where you're almost paralytic. You gotta keep picking yourself up and reaching for it. And that's the long and short of it. Because if you don't, it won't get done.
And the reason why I showed that to you guys is because he basically talked about my experience in high school and going into college. I didn't go to college right after high school. I moved to Brooklyn. I worked a couple jobs, moved out of state. And for me, coming from Success Village, going to Central High School, to me, to me, the problem with that was college was always something that happened to rich kids. Or really, really, really poor kids. But not somebody who was kind of like in the lower middle class like me. Like, it was always a reason to point at school or point at ambitions and be like, that's not really for me because I don't have this or I don't have that. And that's not true, because I have a master's degree and I fought for it every single second of my life to get it. And I came from very humble beginnings. My parents didn't even speak English. I went to first grade and I knew like 2 sentences. My parents spoke Spanish in the house, right? So, to me, I think what he's saying is important, because it's easy to point at social injustices and say, this is why these people can do things and this is why I can't. That's the easy way. The hard way is to ignore that and say, social injustice is what it is. The old saying, it is what it is. This guy's got that, but that's got nothing to do with me. Yeah, you may have to work harder, but that's life. And if you want it, it's worth it. Like he said, you have to go at it with a monastic obsession. If you want to do something, you have to eat, drink, and breathe it. And you'll get it. Because hard work, when people talk about luck, there's a saying about luck that says, luck is where hard work and perseverance meet. So, people that get lucky, and I'm not talking about winning money in the lotto, that's random chance, that's not luck. People that get lucky are the ones who are smart enough to see opportunities when they come and take them. And to put the work into taking that opportunity. And he's going to get more into that in the second piece.
Freedom of choice. It's what you got. Freedom of choice. Freedom of choice.
We live in very interesting times. And as a young person, going into a very turbulent and fragile economy, that is going to get better. It's going to take a while. Going into an employment environment that looks pretty scary. It is easy to lose your moral compass, your decency, your sense of civility, and your sense of community. Very easy. Things in traffic make you mad. People are getting a little desperate. They might not show their best elements to you. You must never lower yourself to being a person you don't like. There's no better time than now to have a moral and civic backbone. To have a moral and civic true north. This is a tremendous opportunity for you, a young person, to be heroic, to be morally upstanding, to be helpful, almost Boy Scout-like, presidential, to be altruistic. Weakness is what brings ignorance, cheapness, racism, homophobia, desperation, cruelty, brutality, all these things that will keep a society chained to the ground, 1 foot nailed to the floor. It's by being strong in the face of all of that, not lowering yourself to it. That's how you lead. That's how you liberate others and maintain freedom. You don't have to beat your chest, you don't have to wave a flag, but to maintain a high level of decency. And it sounds like I'm a cranky old man, like something you want to rebel against, but really think about what I'm saying. I think I'm right about this. When you look at what real desperation and ignorance looks like, when you have to run from it, like literally run from it, you don't want to be that.